Okay, class. James, will you stop throwing paper and sit down? Okay, now, as you know, today is the last day of school. And I want to hear from each and every one of you what it is that you enjoyed the most about this last year. Okay, Phil.
Well, I had lots of fun at recess.
Okay, Phil, I'm glad you enjoyed recess. Anyone else? Oh, well, this is a surprise. Well, class, this is your chance to tell the principal what you've learned during the past year. Who'd like to be next? Okay, Mary, how about you?
I learned a lot about all the different animals when we went on our field trip.
Yeah.
Okay, who would like to be next? Paul.
I thought you were going to teach me how to read.
Okay, who else?
There are 23 million adult Americans today who can't read well enough to fill out a job application, read a street sign, or even write a check. This number includes 60% of the chronically unemployed, 33% of welfare recipients, and 85% of people in prison. The problem of illiteracy, however, does not begin with adults, but rather with the first day of school.
There is a problem of illiteracy in this country. The Nation at Risk report cannot be ignored. There are at least 23 million illiterate adults in the United States. And the Department of Education statistics report that 2.3 million illiterates are added to that total each year. This breaks down to 1 every 16 seconds. Additionally, 85% of the prison population is illiterate. That's an astounding statistic. We as teachers can no longer afford to continue teaching the same way we have. What makes us think that doing what we did last year is suddenly going to work better this year? And we can no longer blame the children. What we teachers should do is start putting into practice what the research says. There's power in music to teach. We're going to show you in this tape today how that musical power can be used to teach reading. Before we do that, I want to discuss a creed for teachers that I saw. It said, the mediocre teacher tells. The good teacher explains. The superior teacher demonstrates. And the great teacher inspires. Now let's talk about those 4 points just for a moment. It said the mediocre teacher tells. Suppose you were teaching about the planets. That mediocre teacher might just stand in front of the class and tell them that there are 9 planets circulating out there around the sun. And that would be all that she would do. That would be a mediocre explanation of that study. The good teacher explains. Perhaps that teacher would go to the chalkboard and she would draw the sun on the board and then draw the orbits and the planets circulating around that sun. But the superior teacher demonstrates. What does that mean? That means she might get the gym ball and put it in the center of her desk or on a table and then have 3-dimensional objects represent each of those 9 planets and show them moving around in their orbits around the sun. But the great teacher inspires. And what does that mean? What can you do to inspire the children, to get them involved in learning? Well, for teaching the planets, she might clear the classroom, move all of the desks and chairs to the side. And then she might ask a child who has on a yellow dress or a yellow shirt to come be the center of the universe, the sun, and stand in the very center of the room and start shining. Then she would get down on the floor with her chalk and draw a circle to represent the orbit around that sun. And she might say, who would like to be Mercury? Would you come be Mercury? And start circulating around the sun. And then draw another line to represent the orbit for Venus. Then the Earth, and she could even have someone come be the moon and circulate around the Earth as it's going around the sun. And Mars and so forth all the way out to Pluto at the edge of the room, so that all of the children would be moving around on their orbits, perhaps even holding a big card that said the name of the planet they represented. Then after she got them all going, she could say, wait a minute, boys and girls, let me teach you a song that will help you to remember the names of these planets. And she could sing, Mercury, Venus, the Earth, and Mars, these are the planets that dwell near the stars, and have the children singing that song as they're rotating around the room. They could even change places with each other and change signs so that in singing it over and over again, they would learn, they would memorize the names of those planets. I did that in my class one year, and a month or so later, one of the mothers came to me and she said, I didn't know you were teaching about planets in the first grade. And I said, well, only because it was a fun thing to do. It wasn't really in the curriculum. She said that she had taken the little first grader that was in my room with her third grade boy when they were going on a Cub Scout trip to the planetarium. And when they were there, the man who was giving the talk at the planetarium asked whether any of those third grade Cub Scouts knew the names of the planets. And this little first grader raised his hand and he rattled them right off. Now let's think about that for a minute. Does this mean that those third graders had never been taught about the planets in school? I don't think so. They've been learning about the planets, and they've even made little paper mache planets and had them hanging from the ceiling in the schools, maybe had bulletin boards with them on it. But why was it that only this first grader knew it? You've got it. It was the music. The music helps us to memorize. It's a very important teaching tool. And I want you to see how we're using that to teach reading. Also, there's another thing I'd like to share with you, in that the research that has come out recently said that there are 8 behaviors of teachers that are necessary for reading instruction. Number 1, the teacher provides whatever number of practices are needed for each child to learn a specific skill. They found that slow students generally need 1/3 more practices than average students. Now, when I first heard that, I thought, I don't know whether that's really true or not. But I went back to my classroom and I found that that research is right on. For instance, let me give you an example. The first 6 weeks of first grade in my class, I literally drenched the children in the alphabet. We study how to write the letters, upper and lowercase, and the sounds of the letters. And I find that at the end of 6 weeks, well, that's 1 day per letter, at the 6-week end, most of the children, almost every child, knew those perfectly, but there would always be 2 or 3 that were a little weak with some of the letters at the end of the alphabet. They weren't quite sure about Y and W and X. And I found that if I would continue that practice for 2 more weeks, that would be 1/3 more practices, that they really had it mastered. And that doesn't sound impossible, does it? For us as teachers to provide 1/3 more practices for those students who need it. Number 2, the teacher provides whatever time is necessary to adequately practice the skill. Number 3, the teacher assumes the responsibility for motivating the student. That's a big one. Paying greater attention, of course, to good behavior was found to be more motivating than constant attention to poor behavior. Number 4, the teacher diagnoses and prescribes instantly. Now that's really big one, and I thought, oh, they're really putting us on to say that we should be able to prescribe and diagnose instantly for students in our classes. But I think after you see what we're going to show you on this tape of the steps to teach reading, I think you'll find that diagnosing and prescribing becomes an automatic thing for you. You'll be able to do it with ease. Number 5, the teacher demonstrates the ability in eliciting responses from the students. It was found that children don't respond because they don't know what to do, or they don't know how to do something, or circumstances prevent their doing it, or they just don't want to. But they found that overt responses are needed in a constant, ongoing way as new things are learned. And when we see students that are sitting in little carols off to the side, working alone with just a workbook, it makes us realize that we are not following the research in that. Eliciting the oral responses is so important. The teacher who can elicit an oral response from a student knows what he has learned, and she's helped him to reinforce that learning by helping him to state it. Number 6, this is a big one. The teacher correlates language arts skills with reading. In the school systems where I have been, there were always 4 different texts from 4 different publishers for the teaching of reading, writing, spelling, and phonics. And I found that I would open my teacher's manuals the first week of school, and suppose I open it for reading, it would say start with letter J because the first word we're going to read is Janet. And I'd open the writing book and it would say start with letter O because all of our letters are going to be formed from balls and sticks, and we'll start with letter O. And the spelling book would say start with letter C. The first word we're going to learn is cat. And if you had a phonics assist workbook, it probably said start with letter B because you can see the letter B being formed on your lips. B. So that everything was marching off in a different direction. And well, that was doing exactly the opposite of what the research says we must do. Number 7, the teacher has high levels of mastery expectation. He or she begins the instruction at a level at which the child can't fail to learn, and then expects mastery at that level and succeedingly difficult ones. Number 8, the teacher can successfully move students from prompted learning situations to independent learning, from the model match to the memory match. I'm speaking to you today, teacher to teacher. I'm not a professor. This program is learning to read versus reading to learn. Everything taught in this tape is a practical application of the research and theory that's been gathered. This program was developed in the classroom with children over a 17-year period. Now we'd like to show you the 36-step program that will lead your students to independent reading ability in a most efficient and enjoyable way. Thank you. Okay, school starts tomorrow and it's time for us to get our classrooms ready. Before you begin your class this year, you want to be certain to have one chalkboard chosen to be the writing chalkboard. Then get lines, get your magic marker and you make lines to make your section of the chalkboard look exactly the way the child's paper looks, with one straight line, one dotted line. 2 inches between each of these is just about right. And get somebody to hold the other end of the board for you so you can keep those lines nice and straight. That will really save you as a teacher. It'll save you so much time each day to have that. Another thing that you need to do is get the desks facing that chalkboard. Don't let your children sit at circular tables where they're going to have to look over their shoulder to see how to form letters. Be certain that your desks can face this chalkboard. That's really important. We're seeing a lot of children flipping letters for many years because they have never had the opportunity to face straight forward and have anchors there. Go toward the window, the teacher can say when she's forming a letter, or go toward the door. It's very important that you have these north poles so that you'll be able to teach writing and keep them from flipping those letters. The next thing you want to do is to get your desk strips on. These are the most helpful things. It's a strip that you put on each child's desk. It has the alphabet. It has a number line. It has pictures for the phonics song. And there's a place for you to write the child's name. This is very helpful in the classroom. It gives the child a model for how to write his name in upper and lower case. You know, usually in kindergarten they learn to write all their their names in capital letters. But when they come to first grade, we want them to use upper and lower case, and this gives them a model right on their desk to follow. It also helps you when you're giving out papers and the children aren't in the room. You have names on every desk for you. Then you'll want to put up your phonics cards. They're over here on this wall. Put them over your chalkboard. We have them displayed here now. These are the letters and the keyword pictures for the phonics song. And you'll want your ABC writing strip up as your model, your frame of reference for the children when you're teaching and they're learning writing. You know, children come to our schools ready to expecting to learn. If you ask them what they expect to learn in first grade this year that they didn't learn in kindergarten last year, they'll raise their hands and they'll tell you. They expect to learn how to read. And I think children are really grossly disappointed when they don't learn to read in the first grade. We can do it. Also in your class, you would put this classroom raceway. I tell the children that this is a game we're going to play as we learn to read. It's a raceway, and each child is given a little car. You can see we have one right here. Every child gets a car, and we write his name. The raceway car number 1 is Mary, and raceway car number 2, Johnny, and so forth down here for each child in your class. And I tell the children their cars are going to make 2 trips around this raceway in order to learn how to read this year. On the first trip around, we're going to look in the center of the raceway, and you'll notice that we're going to learn about the ABCs. We learn about a letter each day. It takes about 6 weeks for us to go from A to Z. And we use this workbook, Off We Go workbook. And I'll tell you more about it in a minute. They make a second trip around the raceway. When they finish that, they move their cars back to here. Their second trip around the raceway, they follow what the numbers tell them to do. You see there's some notes there, there's some songs they're going to learn and some books to read and charts and so forth. And their cars will move around to step 36 because there are 36 things you have to do to learn how to read. And I promise you, boys and girls, when your car gets to step 36, you'll be able to read anything. All right, the first day of school, they're given this book, the Off We Go book. And I have them write their name on it, and I go around and help them tear out the first 2 pages because you see, the very first day of school, we line our cars up here and we're going to learn about letter A today. There are, children learn through different means. Some children are very strong visual learners. Some children are very strong audio learners. Some children learn kinesthetically. That is, they have to move their muscles. Writing takes care of that for us, doesn't it? You've heard a lot of people say, I can remember it if I write it down. Because you see, then they're getting it visually and kinesthetically. That's what this workbook is going to help the children do. Learn through every avenue to the brain so we know that our children, everybody, will be able to learn. I tear out the first 2 pages of this book, and the children always say, oh, look, that's the same as your picture up in the front of the room, Mrs. Dixon. And I say, yes, boys and girls, remember to save these pages that we do each day because you, too, will have a set of cards just like mine, and you can play school at home with yours if you save them each day. So the first day of school, they get these 2 papers, they write their names at the top, and I tell them, we're going to learn about the letters of the alphabet. We start with letter A right now. I stand at my cards in the front while they have these papers on their desks. You'll follow me. I say, boys and girls, you know the names of these letters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They know that from Sesame Street. They know it from kindergarten. But did you know, boys and girls, that there are things that are more important than the names of the letters? And that is the sounds of the letters. Each one of these letters has a sound that it makes. And the way we find the sound is by looking at these pictures. Look at this first picture. What is that a picture of, everybody? Apple. All right, we're going to start to say the word apple and not finish it, and that will give us the sound of letter A. Let's start to say it now. Ah. Ah, that's it. That's the letter that says ah. Big letter A says ah. Little letter A says ah. Say ah, apple. And the class echoes ah, apple. Then the children will write. They will color the picture of the apple, turn the page over, and then they learn to write the letter that go apple. I want to point this out, that this letter is also an A, and it also says but we don't learn to write that in school. I tell the children, if we take that fancy hook off the top, you can see that it looks just like this one. This is the one that the typewriter makes, and we see it in signs and in print. I want to point out to the teachers right now that we also show the different form of letter G, the different form of letter T, the different form of letter Q. If I were queen, I would outlaw that form of letter Q. That is really hard for the children to see that without the curl there to keep it from being mixed up with a little letter P. Let's move over here to the chalkboard and see how it is that we teach letter A. There's a script at the bottom of each writing page that the teacher should follow, because in teaching writing this way, we have to, we'll find that it will save our children from getting letters mixed. There are things that we say, what we say guides the way, and there are things that we're going to be telling the children to say as they form the letters that will help them to discern between P's and D's and B's, the letters that they mix. I want to recommend that each of you gets the large piece of chalk. When I had student teachers in my room and I would walk to the back of the room and see what they had written on the board when they were using the regular size chalk, I could see that there's a real problem for children that have any kind of visual problems at all, and that we should take care of that. It gets your hands full of dust, but that's all right. It does the job and the children will really learn. When I was trained to be a teacher, and many of you also learned to teach writing with balls and sticks, I think it's caused a lot of the dyslexia. I think it's caused a lot of the problems, because what we've done is say that all the letters are going to be formed from round circles or straight lines. And then we say, letter P is made by making a straight line here and a round ball up here. And letter D is made by making a little ball here and a line here. And letter B is made by making a line here and a ball over here. It's been very easy to manipulate, but how is the child to remember which one is which? And is it really fair to cast that burden upon the child and say he has perceptual difficulties? I think not. I think there are things that we can say that guide the way. I'm going to lead us through the alphabet now and make some of the points that I think would be helpful for your classes too. Big letter A, I tell the children we start up at the ceiling, we go down the sliding board to the sidewalk. Go down the sliding board in the other direction and cross it in the center. Now, we're going to make little letter A. Watch very carefully. We do not start on the line. A lot of teachers were taught, start on the line, end on the line. Don't do it. I'll show you why. We're going to get under the line. Make a dot under the line. Go up to touch that center line, down to the sidewalk, close it up, and straight down. Have the children practice that in the air. Get under the line first. Up, around, touch the sidewalk, and down. Why do we do that? Because if they start on the line, look what happens. They start up here, they go around, form their circle. Now they can't come straight back down. They have to move around to the side to come down, and you get letters that look this way. Or you get letters that look like this. I know you've seen those. What we want is the kind of writing that will lead directly to cursive writing. If you form the letters this way, your children can move into cursive writing without a problem. Remember, the first movement is up, around, and straight down. Letter B, big letter B, down to the sidewalk, around for his big tummy, and a big chest, and around for his big tummy. Little letter B, down straight, bounce up in the air, and around. Looks just like his daddy, but he doesn't have the big chest. Big letter C, up, always start in an up direction. Up to touch, down and up. Little letter C, the way we first started our little letter A, the up movement first. That is so important. Letter D, down and around. Now, when we make little letter D, we can say, what was it we learned yesterday? Little letter C. Well, that's going to help us because first little C, then little d. Every time your children form that, have them say it. First little c, then little d. You'll notice that it feels completely different from this letter, little letter b, which was down, up, and around, all in one piece. Letter E, down for a strong backbone, over for his hat, over for his belt, and over for his shoes. Little letter E, get right in the center of the space. Now they have to find that, right? Find the sidewalk, get up halfway in the middle of the space, go toward the door of your room. Get to your door or your windows, whatever it is. Go toward the door, up to touch the line, around and up. All right, let's come back over for letter F. Down, over, over. his hat, and his belt. Little letter F, tell them to start to make a little letter C up in the air. That gets them going in the right direction. Make that little letter C come up and around and then straighten it out, down, and cross straight through. Big letter G, form a big letter C, come up to the line, and give him a tray to hold straight. Little letter G, first you make a little letter A, and G, that's a good idea. There's a basket, hold it if it falls. Goes down through the sidewalk. That's the first one that you've done that. But every time you form it, say, look at that. Gee, that's a good idea. If the ball falls, it falls into the basket. H, down for a wall, down for a wall, and cross it in the center. Little letter H, down, up, and around. I for Indian, down for his backbone, here for his hat, here for his shoes. Or I guess you could say here for his headdress and his moccasins, huh? Little letter I, down, give him his feather up there. Indian. J, down, and turn the same way that you did when you formed the other basket, and put his hat on. Little letter J starts in the center. Down through the sidewalk, turn the same way that you did before. Notice we're always going in this direction. K, down straight, come out here, come into the center, and then down to the floor, or the sidewalk. Little letter K, just as tall as his daddy, down, pick up your pencil, come into the center and down. There's another way to form that, and some writing books do. It doesn't make any difference to me. Down, bounce up a little bit, out, and down is the other way. Take your pick. L, down, turn the corner. I didn't get that quite right, did I? Little letter L, just the straight line. M, go down straight, go down the slide, up the slide, and straight down. Little letter M, down, hump around, hump around. N, down straight, down the slide, down straight. Little letter N, down, up, and around. I tell them when they form M that it takes two lips to say M, M, and make believe those are the two lips. Somebody's on their back, and those are the lips. But N, you don't have your lips together, just one hump. Those are the ones they mix, right? O, always form the C first and close it up. Get them consistent. It's when a child has to stop and think which direction to go in that it slows him down. If they always form their circle starting from the C, they'll get some speed worked up. Little letter O, same way. Big letter P, down and around. Little letter P starts in the center, down into the basement, come up and put his chin on the line. Big letter Q, first you make an O and give the queen her walking stick. Little letter Q, go around like a little letter A, come down, and isn't that queer? If the ball falls, it will not fall into the basket. Queen. Isn't that queer? Does that? You can also say that's her hair that's curled there too. Help them go in the other direction. R, down, around, and down. Little letter R, down, up, and hook over. S, tell them to form a C up in the air. That gets them going in the right direction and back. Have you noticed how many times we're forming it from that C? Little letter S, form a little C up in the air and then swing back. T, down, and cross it right at the top. Little letter T is almost, he's like a teenager. He's not quite as tall as his daddy, but he's not short either. And it crosses on the line. U, down, curve, and up. Little letter U, down, curve, up, and straight down. V, down and up. Little letter V, down, up. W, down, up, down, up. Little letter W, down, up, down, up. X, we go down on a slant, back in the other direction. Little letter X, down and back. Y, we form with a Y up in the air, a V up in the air, and put a stem on it. That's easy for them. Little letter Y, they seem to have trouble with it. Watch it. We go down on a slant, pick up our pencil, come over here, and go straight down, touch it, and into the basement. Little letter Y. And Z, I tell the children, they very often get this one mixed. They don't know which way to go. If they know their numbers and they can write a 7, I tell them, make the 7. and then go back. Same for little z. What we really want is consistency. Now, we don't teach all of these the first day, do we? We're going to do 2 pages in our workbook, in the Off We Go workbook each day. There's a writing page on the back of the keyword. They color the keyword, they do the writing, they have a cut and paste page. This is a lot of fun. We identify the items at the bottom of the page. This is an axe, astronaut, ambulance, animals. They all start with the sound, though, so they're going to be pasted up here. What about flower? Does that begin with the sound? No. Let's take our crayon and put a big X mark on that. The next is ant, alligator. But what about box? Does that belong? No. Put a big X on that. These are apples, and we're going to write the for apples on that line to make that word say apples. Now, you've noticed that you're guiding all the way through. The child is not given this page to do on his own. Everybody's going to go home with an A+ or a smiley face. I really like A+, and I think if my child came home from school, I'd much rather hang a A+ on the refrigerator than a great big C or a big check or even a smiley face. So think about that. We want the children to feel good about themselves. We want their parents to feel good about what they're learning in school also. All right, then we turn to the back of that page, and we're going to follow the dots from big letter A to little letter A, dot to dot, and these are acrobats in the circus. And we put the little letter A there. Now, when the children finish those 4 pages, and they have to finish them right, if we just go right through finishing them, they come back to the raceway in the back of the room, and I move their cars forward. I put their A+ on their papers, and I move their car up, and they see that tomorrow we're going to learn about letter B. Okay, it's the 2nd day of school now, and it's time for us to learn about the next letter of the alphabet. We look at the picture of the ball, and we say, ball. Now start to say ball, and don't finish saying it. B, b. That's the sound of letter B. B, b, ball. Class echoes. B, b, ball. Then you get out the pages from the Off We Go book, and we color the picture of the ball. We write the letter that goes B as in ball. We cut and paste the balloon, boat, but not nail. Bear, not cake. Button, bird, and baby. And write the letter B there. Then we follow the dots from big letter A to little letter A, big letter B to little letter B, and write the little letter B there so it will say boot, for boot. Now you'll notice that I'm not going buh as the sound of that letter. If you put the sound, that's taking the sound of the letter U that goes for umbrella. So we have to say it very short. Have the children practice. Boy, balloon, box, baby. You can say it. All right, the next day of school, we finish those pages, we move our cars up on the raceway, then the next day of school, we're ready for cat. Do those 4 pages, move the cars forward. The next day, doll. Say it very quickly, not doll. That was the way they used to teach phonics, and it sabotaged us when it came time to read. Doll. Egg. I'm going all the way across. Fan. Goat. Hand. Just the air coming out of your mouth for hand. Indian. Jam. King. Lamb. Man. Nickel. Back to here. Ox. Pickle. Queen. Now you do get a little bit of the U sound there, but remember Q is always followed by a U when you write. Queen. This one, rail. Now I teach it rail because if you teach it it will sabotage the spelling later on. There are 3 letters that go E-R, I-R, and U-R. Letter R by itself does not go It's improperly taught if you're teaching it as We don't say, I'm going to run down the street. It is not a river. This is not a rail. It's a rail. Rail. Sun. Tail. Umbrella. Vase. Wagon. Box. Let's talk about this one. This is the only one that I teach that doesn't have the initial sound. Obviously, box does not start with the letter X. But I tell the children that when letter X is at the beginning of a word, it just says its name, X. Or sometimes it steals another letter's sound. It steals the Z sound. I'm sure you've seen phonics coloring books where it shows xylophone for letter X. That's really, it's incredible. That's teaching, like teaching K as the key letter for knife. I mean, it's just a rule breaker when it takes the Z sound. The sound of X you teach the children is X, X. I tell them that it'll help them remember it if they think, the letter they get from their grandma, and at the bottom she sends them little kisses. Say X, X, X. Every time you see that X, and you'll know the sound. Say fox, box, mix, fix. Okay? Yard, and zoo. Okay, when I'm teaching this, and I get up to about letter G, we're going through our book and doing the pages and doing the writing each day. When I get to letter G, I say, boys and girls, there's a song that I know that will help us to know the rest of the sounds of these letters very quickly. And when we learn these sounds, you'll see, ready to read then, we will be. We'd like to cut to the classroom and show you how we do that. Okay, boys and girls, it's time for us to sing our phonics song. It's the step 1 of our raceway, and we're going to sing the sounds from A to Z. And I'm going to ask Diane if she'll come up and do the pointing for us. Keep our eyes right at the tip of the pointer, okay? If we can have some music. Okay, we sing that song every single day. I mean, they come in my class, and we take the attendance, we get the lunch count, we salute the flag, we sing America, and we sing the phonics song. It's just part of our opening every single day. As a matter of fact, we sing 2 different versions of it. We sing it with the cards in the front of the room, and then we sing it pointing to the pictures on our desk strips. Remember, we had these stick-on desk strips? And the children point along doing that. Let's go see how we do that in the classroom now. Okay, there's a reinforcement game that we can play to help the children learn the sounds of the letters also, and it's called Soundo. All the children are given a Soundo card and see-through game markers. And I go to the front of the room and I point as I call out the letters for the children to cover. Cover the letter that goes B as in ball. Cover the letter that goes A as in apple. And of course they play just the way you do bingo. If you get a straight line horizontally or vertically or corner to corner, you have a winner and they get a prize from the treasure chest. On the other side of the Soundo card, we have the small letters. We play with the capital letter side for about 2 weeks. Usually the children know those capital letters from kindergarten, but they do not know the lowercase letters, and we have to spend more time practicing with this. But you continue pointing to the frame of reference that's in the front. Cover the letter that goes qu as in queen, so that the children can look up and find that shape and then look down and find it on their card. If you find that the children are no longer looking up to where you're pointing, then you know that your children know those sounds. You've tested them and you've found that they know it in a very non-threatening way. Let's go to the classroom and see how that's done now. Cover the letter that goes ah as in ox. Cover the letter that goes z as in zoo. Cover the letter that goes as in man.
Soundo!
The first reading group of the year is called when the children have really gotten established in the habit of cutting and pasting and doing their writing independently. Maybe by the time you get up to letter I and J, K, around in there, the children can do that on their own. Then I say, boys and girls, I want you to work very quietly today while you're cutting and pasting, because today we're going to start our first reading groups. And I'm going to call 5 children to come back to the reading table with me, and let's have row 1 come back now. And when they get back, I say, boys and girls, this is a little merry-go-round strip. You'll see the little horses here, and we're going to put this in the center of the table. And these are called pick-a-sound cards. And I'm going to give each one of you, we're going to deal the cards, each of you are going to get 5 cards. Now, teachers, in this deck there are pairs. There are 2 of each letter of the alphabet. You put all the extra cards in the center of the table inside the pick-a-sound ring. And you call on a child. Say, Mary, do you have the card that goes sun? And if she has it, she gives it to you and you make a pair and you get another turn. If she does not have it, she says, pick a sound from the merry-go-round, and they draw. Let's go to the classroom and see some children playing this game.
Sarah, do you have zoo? Pick a sound from the merry-go-round. Do you have pickle? Pick a sound from the merry-go-round. Sarah, do you have hand? Pick a sound from the merry-go-round.
In that class, you just saw 2 children playing the game of pick a sound from the merry-go-round, but we do use it for our reading groups, and you can have as many as 5 or 6 children playing that game. I usually buy 5 sets of pick a sound cards in my classroom so that the children can play this in their free time. It's a wonderful way for them to get practice in saying the sounds and finding the letters that go with them. When they get to letter Z in the Off We Go book, it's a very important day. We move our cars on the raceway from the flag at the end of that first trip. We move all the cars back to step 1, and every child is awarded the raceway book. That's a very important day in our class. This book contains 36 lessons, 36 steps to independent reading ability. And it can be used for people of any age who need a fresh start in learning to read. On the inside cover of the Raceway book, there is a picture of the raceway, and the student can color in each section as he finishes that step. Let's turn to step 1 and see what it is. Look there, it's phonics song verse 1. You can sing the sounds of the letters, color the pictures, and if you can do that, your teacher will initial it and put the date on it right here, and you are through with step 1, and we can move your car up on the raceway for step 2. We're ready now for Raceway Step 2, the ABC Echoes. On Raceway Step 2, we're going to go across the alphabet from A to Z and say the sounds that we learned when we sang the phonics song. We're not going to be looking at the picture of the apple and the ball and the cat and the doll, but we're going to just look at the letter and say the sound that we learned for that letter. We're going to go to the classroom now and see how we do this. All right, boys and girls, now it's time for us to learn about step 2 of the raceway. On step 2, we're going to go across the ABCs from A to Z and say a sound for each letter, the same sound that we learned when we sang the phonics song. The first time I'm going to be the leader, and you echo after me, and then we'll pick other people to be leaders. Watch carefully now. Ready? A. A. B. B. K. K. D. D. E. E. G. G. H. I. I. J. J. O. O. A. A. Spider. Qua. Qua. R. R. S. T. A. W. W. X. Y. Y. All right, let's see if there's someone else who can try to be our leader for us. Chris? All right, let's keep our eyes right at the tip of the pointer while Chris is our leader. One sound for each letter. Here we go. A. A. B. B. K. K. D. D. E. E. G. G. H. I. I. J. J. O. A. A. K. 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 R. R. S. Yeah. I mean, Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. Very good. All right, you're going to do that practice every single day. Usually in my classroom, I have children in row 1 be the leaders for the echoes on Monday, row 2 on Tuesday, row 3 on Wednesday, and so forth, so that every child gets a chance to be the leader each week. Now, when they can do that, you open the Raceway book to step 2. You have the children say the sounds for each letter. Each child does it individually. You initial in the box at the bottom of the page, put the date on it. The children write those letters, and then you go back and move their car up to the next step on the Raceway. All right. Now they're on Raceway step 3. On step 3 of the Raceway, we learn about the 5 letters of the alphabet that are more important than any others. And they're the vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. We are going to have the teacher mark above each one of those pictures with a symbol of either a star or a bell or some symbol so that the child can find those cards readily on the alphabet. Let's go to the classroom and see how it is that the children practice these most important short vowel sounds. All right, boys and girls, today it's time for us to learn about step 3 of the Raceway, and that's the short vowel song. There are 5 letters of this alphabet that are more important than any others, and they're called vowels. Can you say that? Vowels. The letters A, E, I, O, and U are the vowels. They're very special. What's the sound that we learned for this one? A as in
apple. This little Scoopy mark means the short vowel sound. Can you say that? Short vowel sound. A is the short vowel sound of that letter A. What did we learn for this letter? What's the sound of it? E as in egg. And the little Scoopy mark means that that's the short vowel sound of letter E. What about the sound of this letter? It's I for Indian. And that's the short vowel sound of that letter. What's this sound? A for oxen. That's the short vowel sound of letter O. And this is letter U, but what does it say? For umbrella. That's the short vowel sound for it. Now there's a little game we're going to play. We have to hold these cards up as we're singing this song and playing this game to see if you can get the right card with the right sound. I like the 4 people in row 2 to come up and stand behind me, and we'll each get a turn. Now everybody watch, because we have to hold the card up at the right time as we sing this song. Can we have some music? Ready? Thank you. All right, we're going to practice singing the short vowel song every single day, picking a row to be the leaders for that day to come up and do it. Then when each child sings the song, you sign in his raceway book and move his car. And now we're ready for step 4. We're ready now to ride the reading Ferris wheel. And the Ferris wheel blends. When we show this to the children, we say, look, here are some of our old friends, the short vowel sounds. And we sing apple, egg, Indian, the short vowels we do sing, and so forth, all the way up to the top. And then we say, we can go up the ladder. Listen. Let's see if we can go together back down. You notice that each step in this program interlocks with the previous step. So now I tell the children, now we're ready to ride this Ferris wheel, and you need tickets to ride the Ferris wheel. Now, what is the sound that we learned for this letter on this ticket? And the children will say, buh. I'm going to hold it in front of this letter. What is this one? Ah. Let's hold it here and slide the 2 together, because now we're going to make parts of words. Let's do it. Ba. Ba. Who can think of a word that begins ba? And someone will say bat. And you say, that's right. What do you hear on the end of the word bat? And they'll say t. Would you come up and write the word bat? And someone else will say bag. And I say, yes, that's right. What do you hear on the end of bag? And they'll say the sound g. That's letter G. Come up and write the word bag. And someone else may say bad. And you have them come spell it. So you see that you're teaching them how to read and write and spell all at the same time. Then you move on. What's the sound of this letter? Eh. Let's hold this in front, slide the 2 together. Be. Who can think of a word that begins be? Bet, beg, bed. And you go around bit, big, box, and so forth. You can see that you can make lots of words with that. Let's take another ticket. This ticket has the sound k, and there are two letters of our alphabet that go k, cat, and k for king. And this is what we have to do for it. It's the only really tricky one in here. We go ka, ke, ki, ka, 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 ki, ke, ka. Now, the reason we did that, the reason we had to flip it, I tell the children, is because the word cat and the word cot and the word cut begin with C, but the word kitten and kettle start with K. That's all you do, is tell the children to flip it, that K goes with E and I. Now, for the teachers, you need to know that if you keep that C going up through here, that the C takes the S sound before E and I, as in century and city, okay? So the children just need to flip that. It'll help them with their spelling later, all right? Now, you're going to give out a package of tickets to everybody in the room. And then you'll tell the children that there are symbols in their tickets. And there are thumb marks on the tickets. Also, they're to hold their thumb, their left thumb over that thumb. That keeps the letters right side up so we don't get the D's and P's mixed up. And there are 5 children in your room who will have stars on their tickets. And in those stars there are numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When the music starts, the children will come up. The person with star with number 1 in it will stand right here in the front. He's the first one to ride the Ferris wheel. The one with star 2 is right behind him. Star 3 right behind them. And I mark on the floor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so the children know where to stand. Then there's a chorus of music, and the children with the boxes in the corner of their tickets come up. There are 5 of those. Then the people with circles and triangles. That will keep our music with the right tickets. Let's go to the classroom and see how we do this. Okay, boys and girls, now that we've learned the sounds of the letters and learned how to blend them together, we have a song and game that'll help us practice blending those sounds together to make parts of words. Now, each one of you has a ticket to ride this Ferris wheel. All right? What do you see on the Ferris wheel? What are these letters that we know? Bobby?
Vowels.
Vowels, right. And we're going to slide the consonant sounds with the vowels. Notice your tickets. Some of you have tickets, 5 of you have tickets with a star on them. Raise your hand if you have a star on your tickets. You're going to be the first ones to ride the Ferris wheel. Then after that, the people with boxes on their tickets will be next. And then the people with circles. And then the people with triangles. Their tickets will be next in the line. Now, look at your tickets and you'll see a number in each one. Those of you who have a star ticket with number 1, the person with star ticket number 1 will come up and stand right here in the front when the music starts. The person with star ticket number 2 will be right behind him. Star ticket number 3, 4, and 5. There are places marked on the floor for you to stand. That way our music will fit with our tickets, okay? Everybody ready to begin? When the music starts, the people with stars on their tickets will come line up first. Ready? Can we have some music?
Round and up and down, Ferris wheel we go. Round and up and down. Come on now, don't be slow. Have your ticket in your hand, the ride will soon begin. Do your best, your very best, go round and round again.
Vowels.
I,
right, we're going to practice riding the Ferris wheel with the class every day for several weeks till the children can do it really well. Then we'll open our Raceway books and find the Ferris wheel step, and we'll tear out the page next to it and arrange all the tickets according to their symbols. Put all the star tickets together, all the box tickets together, the circle tickets, and so forth. And stack them up. Then call the children to your reading table to bring, say, the star tickets with them first. Have 5 children come over and hear them sing around using the star tickets and sign them right in that symbol. And then the next day, call the children to the reading table, 5 at a time, and hear them do the box tickets. And the next day, the circle tickets and the triangle tickets. You see that the teacher is really responsible to see that each child knows how to sing these sounds individually, not just in the group, but alone. This is a crucial step in learning to read. Now, there are some blends that we need to learn, and we're going to learn those over at the Ferris wheel chart. On the Ferris wheel, we have more tickets: bell tickets, house tickets, and pennant tickets. And on those tickets, there are 2 letters. We need to teach the children that BR goes bruh. Say bruh, bruh, brick, bruh, bruh, bread, bruh, bruh, brother. CR goes cruh, 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 cradle, cruh, cruh, crawl, cruh, cruh, crib. We want to be very careful to teach to not say cur for the letter R. It's cruh. We don't say curradle, we don't say currib. Same for this. Truh, truh, tree. Truh, truh, truck. Truh, truh, tricycle. Not tricycle, not truck. All right, what we're going to do now is give out the tickets, the bell, house, and pennant tickets, and let's go back to the classroom and see how it is that they learn to blend these sounds. All right, boys and girls, now we're going to ride the Ferris wheel using the blends tickets, 2 letters on each ticket. The first people to ride are going to be those that have bells on their tickets. Then the next will be the house people, and then the pennants. All right, when the music starts, we'll have the bell people come right up, okay?
Round and up and down, the Ferris wheel we go. Round and up and down, come on now, don't be slow. Have your ticket in your hand, the ride will soon begin. Do your best, your very best, go round again.
BR, brook.
Rat, red, brick, rock, brick, red, rat.
CR, crook.
Rat,
when the child is signed in every symbol on the Ferris wheel, then it's time to move his car up on the raceway to the next step. And we see that it's now time for us to start reading words, hundreds of words. All right, it's time now for us to do step 5, the short A word chart. On this chart, every word has an A in it that goes ah, as in apple. Look, ah, 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 all the way down through each of these words. That's why we have a picture of the letter A and the apple there. And it's called the apple chart. Now, we're going to read these words by covering the last letter, and we say, what did we say on the Ferris wheel when we saw these first 2 letters? Ha. Now think of that sound. Ham. Ham. There's the word ham. I'd like a ham sandwich. Always use the word in a sentence when you teach it. Let's do the next one. Dad. Dad. He is my dad. And so forth. You have them cover the last letter, link it with the teaching of the Ferris wheel step. Let's go to the classroom now and see someone demonstrate this for us, where we read and spell these words.
Ham, ham. Dad, dad. Mat, mat. Dan, dan. Wag, wag. Lap, lap. Rag, rag. Hat, hat. Pan, pan. Map, map.
Perfect. Now turn and face this way, and let's see if you can spell them without looking at the chart. Ready? Ham.
H-A-M.
Good. Watch my lips now. Dad.
D-A-D.
Mat.
M-A-T.
Dan.
D-A-N.
The name. Now, what do you have to remember at the beginning?
Capital D-A-N.
Right. Wag.
W-A-G.
Right. Lap.
L-A-P.
Rag.
R-A-G.
Hat.
H-A-T.
Pan.
P-A-N.
Map.
M-A-P.
It's time now for the children to try to read the words in their Raceway book. The short A words are listed on step 5. They'll sound the word out and use it in a sentence. Go around the reading table, each child taking a turn reading the words. Now, usually my fastest reading group will read all of these words the first time. The medium group will read the first page. The slow group will probably read just the first line, but they all can do it. It's just the speed of learning or performing that makes the difference. They all have those skills and are able to do it because they have come stepwise through the process of learning to sound out the words. I want to show you on this chart that there are actually 3 ways that we could have sounded out those words. We could have given each sound separately. Am, am. But that's not very efficient. A long time ago, that's the way they taught phonics. They would go k-at, k-at. What is a k-at? I don't know. That's why it wasn't so successful. But there's another way you could sound it. You could take the word and look for the word am there and go am. But that makes us look at the end of the word and then come back and get the beginning of it. So that's not very efficient. And the way that we do it, getting the first 2 sounds together, ha, and then the ham, in research, they tested those 3 ways, and they found that the way we're doing it is the most efficient way. So insist that your children use those first 2 sounds blended together and then add the final sound. At the bottom of the Raceway page, it says, can read, can write, can spell. You'll hear the children do each of those things, and sign them and date in the boxes. Also, it's fun at this point to give them a piece of folded art paper. Give them art paper and have them fold it into quarters. And then have them write a word in each box and then illustrate it so that they could do actually 8 words each day. It's a nice art project. It makes a picture dictionary. It's very helpful in those areas where children are dual language children. In the areas where they speak Spanish in their homes, they really need to have a lot of practice of drawing the pictures and making picture dictionaries so that they can pick up this new language. The children will be moving at different rates on the raceway now. You'll find that as they finish each step, they're moved forward and the groups will be breaking up. The teacher is able to use flexibility here. She can have her children move along individually, or if she would like, she can have them move with reading groups. 5 or 6 children into a reading group moving along together. When the child has finished reading, writing, and spelling all the short A words, then his car is moved up on the raceway and he's given his first book to read, the Apple book. This is a 64-page book that has nothing but short A words in it. We'll look at the vocabulary just inside the front page. You'll notice that all the words are short A words. We have 2 words here that are in cages. The reason they're in cages is because there's a letter in there that's stealing another letter's sound. In this word, the S is stealing the Z sound. Has. In this word, the letter A is taking the U sound, the for umbrella sound, as when we say a book, a boy, a school. The children read all the pages, all the stories in this book. Every single word is a short A word. It's a nice little story. When they're through, they come back to their raceway book where they have comprehension pages that they have to do for that step. We have a matching fun page where they read the sentence and find the picture that goes with it. They have a drawing fun page where they read the sentences and then draw a picture for each one of those sentences. Another matching page, read the sentence, find the picture, draw a line to it. And then a vocabulary and comprehension test page where the teacher tells the children, put your finger on box number 1. Circle the word that says cat. Put your finger on box number 2. Circle the word that says dad, and so forth. The next time she goes through, she reads a sentence that's listed on the inside cover for the teacher. It'll say, circle the word that tells what you need when you play baseball. And the child will find the word bat. You see, you're really checking his comprehension there. When he's through with that test, his car moves up on the raceway, and he's now on step 7, ready for the short E words. All you have to do is turn the page in the raceway book. You see somebody's already started on this one. The short E words you teach from the E chart, same way you did before. Read the first 2 letters together, then add the last sound. Red, leg, and say it in a sentence. The color was red. His leg was on the sofa. All right, let's go to the clip and see how we teach it in the classroom.
Red, red, leg, leg, Ted, Ted, wet, wet, hen, hen, pet, pet, yes, yes, man, man, fed, fed, get, get.
Perfect. All right, let's see if you can spell it. Red.
R,
Go ahead, you're doing fine.
R-E-D.
Perfect. Leg.
L-E-G.
Right. Ted.
T-E.
Ted.
T-E-D.
All right.
Capital T-E-D.
Right. Wet.
W-E-T.
Right. Hen.
H-E-N.
Pet.
P-E-T.
Yes.
Y-E-S.
Men.
M-E-N.
Fed.
F-E-D.
Get.
G-E-T.
Perfect. When the child finishes reading, writing, and spelling the short E words, we sign them in their raceway book and move their car up on the raceway to step 8. Look back in your raceway book. It says step 8 is that we're to read the e-book. The e-book has all short E words in it, and short A words. You see, this is cumulative. And there's a story in here. Again, the words that have letters that steal other letter sounds are introduced with the little cages. There are just a few of them. And then the adventure starts. Story of a little hen and the trouble that she got in when the children were painting her cage with red paint. It's a nice little story. The children enjoy it. Have them read that story, then come back to your Raceway book where the comprehension is checked. Turn the page and you see, you can turn the page in this book. You can follow this program because everything that you need is right here on the pages of this book. There's a matching fun page and then the vocabulary and comprehension test. Again, when they finish that, we move their car up on the Raceway to the next step, turn the page, and we see that they're to read the short I words this time. The teacher introduces it with her nice green chart here. She reads, has the children sound out those words, use them in sentences. Let's go to the classroom again and see this demonstrated.
Him, did, lip, win, hit,
Put the two together. Put the first two letters together.
Tim, dip, pig, sit, hid.
Very good. All right, spell it. Him.
Him,
I gave it to him.
H-I-M.
Good. Did. He did his work.
D-I-D.
Lip.
L-I-P.
What was the last sound? Lip.
P.
Okay, good. I didn't hear it right. Win.
W-I-N.
Right. Hit.
H-I-T.
Right. Tim. Remember, it's a name. Tim.
Capital T-I-M.
Good. Dip.
D-I-P.
Good. Pig.
P-I-G.
Right. Sit.
S-I-T.
Hid.
H-I-D.
Excellent.
When the children in your reading group have finished reading, writing, and spelling all of the short I words, then you move their cars up on the Raceway to step 10. And we see that step 10 is to read the short I book. That's the Indian book. Every word in this book has either short A, E, or I words. There's a review vocabulary at the beginning. Well, first it introduces all the short I words, the two rule breakers, then there's a review vocabulary, then there's a little story there about a young man named Jim. And children read that, then come back to the Raceway book for the comprehension pages to check their knowledge of that story. There's a mix and match page, matching fun, then the vocabulary and comprehension test, as we had before. Move their cars up on the Raceway, and we're up to step 11, the short O words. We teach those from our nice orange chart over here. Let's go over to the chart. You see that every word on this chart has an O in it, and that it goes ah as in oxen. The children sound those out, use the words in a sentence, and we'll go to our classroom to see how this is done.
Pot, mop, fox, nod, tom, hog, top, box, God, mom.
Very good. All right, let's see if you can spell it. Pot.
P-O-T.
Good. Mop.
M-O-P.
Fox.
F-O-X.
Nod.
N-O-D.
Tom.
Capital T-O-D. Capital T-O-M.
Hog.
H-O-G.
Top.
T-O-P.
Box.
B-O-X.
God.
G-O-D.
And at the beginning?
Capital D-O.
Do it again.
God.
Capital.
G-O-D.
Right. Mom.
M-O-M.
Very good.
Children will read, write, and spell the words on step 11, the O words, and then we will move their car up to step 12 on the raceway. On step 12, we see that we're to read the O book, the Ox book it is. And in this book, we have A, E, I, and O words. There's a nice little story in there about a doll that gets lost, and a dog had something to do with it. And the children will read this book, then go back to the raceway book to do their comprehension pages, to see whether they really understood that story. They do the matching fun page, and then the teacher calls out the words for the vocabulary and comprehension test. Now it's time to move their car forward. They move to step 13. Step 13, we teach from this chart, this nice blue chart, the umbrella words. You'll sound the words out, use them in sentences, and let's go to our classroom to see this demonstrated.
Bug, bug. Cut, cut. Rub, rub. Gus, gus. Hug, hug. Fun, fun. Tub, tub. Mud, mud. But, but. Hum, hum.
Very good. All right, let's spell. Bug.
B-U-G.
Cut.
C-U-T.
Rub.
R-U-B.
Gus.
G-U, capital G-U-S.
Hug.
H-U-G.
Fun.
F-U-N.
Good. Tub.
T-U-B.
Mud.
M-U-D.
Butt.
B-U-T.
Hum.
H-U-B-M.
Perfect.
Have your students read, write, and spell all those short U words on step 13. When they can do that, move their car up on the raceway, and you see that they're now on step 14. Step 14, they're supposed to read the U book. That's the for umbrella book. And the new words, of course, are the U words. The vocabulary is introduced first. The rule breaker words are shown in the little cages. They're cumulative with all the others. And then the story starts about Gus. He's a little bug who lives in a nut, and he has a bun with ham on it, and his mom tells him not to gulp his milk, and he has quite an adventure here. This is my favorite storybook. After they finish reading that Gus the Bug book, they go back to their raceway books for their comprehension pages. You just turn the page, have them do matching fun, take the vocabulary and comprehension test. We move their car up on the raceway. They're now on step 15. Now on 15, we have A, E, I, O, and U words mixed, and they're slightly longer. We just tell the children to slide across from the beginning the way they always did. Hand, hand, vest, vest, stick, stick, so forth. This is a very good page to have them use the folded art paper and write a word in each box of the paper and illustrate it, because there's so many nice things for them to draw. They read, write, and spell each of these 2 pages for step 15, and then we move their car up on the raceway where we're ready for a real adventure at step 16.